Everybody's been talking about how difficult it is to qualify because of the stress test and the 20 rules. So I've got some information for you to take away on that. So you've got my, so yeah, you take them and pass them along. And then just for your own interest, because I'm going to be talking about the stress test and how you have to pay 2% more than what you're actually going to be qualified, or you have to qualify for 2% more than you're actually going to be paying. I've got a sort of an interest.
The 5-year average. The 2% on the 5-year average. 2%
on whatever rate you get. Yeah, so if you're going for a 2-year mortgage and it's at 4%, then you have to qualify at 6%.
Right. On your income.
Yes. So you have to be able to afford the payment of it. Okay? So yeah, I'm Lori Hause, and I'm a mortgage agent with Mega Mortgage, and I've known Daniel for a few years now, and I've been an investor and involved in real estate for over a decade. I've done everything from being an investor myself, buying and selling properties, to private lending, doing the investment side of things, where it's syndicating, and also now mortgage agent, specializing in people who are doing rental properties and investments. So multifamily and expansion. So I'm learning a lot every day. The brokerage that I work with, we have about 59 lenders that we go to. So every day I'm listening to people's situations, the challenges that they're experiencing. I'm taking that information and I'm getting on the phone to my mortgage lenders and I'm asking them questions about how to qualify. And it's really interesting to hear that they're all backing up the stress test, even the ones that don't have to. So that means that you're actually having to qualify at a 2% higher rate than they're charging you for your interest for your payment. And the reason that they're doing that is because they're expecting interest rates to go up over the next 5 years. So they want to make sure that in 5 years from now, you can afford your property. You're not going to lose it. That's not a bad thing. You know, it makes it a little more difficult to qualify, and the banks are losing a lot of business because of it. They're required to do that. But what's happening is there's alternative A and B and C lenders that are picking up that business, and they're saying, okay, we're going to make you qualify at the stressed level, but we'll allow alternative incomes. We'll allow your child tax benefit to be used as part of your income. We'll allow you to pull money from your RSPs, TFSAs. We'll allow you to have your mom and dad give you some money. We'll allow that. So every lender that I talk to has a different criteria. But the basis of it all is you have to have some sort of income to qualify. And it could be from self-employment, it could be from commission, it could be from child tax benefit, it could be from investments, it could be from rental investments. One of the most fun things that I do with my lenders, I've got one lender that will do up to 11 properties. And he'll qualify the income for the properties just based on the cash flow of the properties. Okay? So if you've got a cash flowing property, you don't have to have any personal income to qualify at all. Okay? But you need to have good properties. You need to have properties that cash flow to make that happen. So you can get to a place where you don't even have to qualify under any stress level because the properties are taken over from there. So on here, you know, it summarizes it. I'm not going to go over this much except to say that you can buy 20% less of a property now than you did before. And here's the interest rates that are from just a couple of the lenders that I have. So if you take prime, which is 3.95, you can add 2%. That's what the qualification, stressed qualification was. Right now, they've lowered it this year to 5.19. So right now, if you go to a bank and you get the best possible rate, whatever that is, 2.64, 2.5, you still have to qualify at 5.19. You can make payments on that and qualify with the income that you have. So banks are very, very strict on how they qualify income. Ideal, of course, is you're employed, you've got a T4, you've got notice of assessments, or your T1s for the last 2 years. they average your income for the last 2 years, and they say, this is how much you make that we see is steady, and we'll qualify you based on that at a 5.19 rate. So they'll tell you how much of a property you can afford then. So then you get somebody who's employed, and they also have a business on the side. So now you can add your self-employed income. The bank may or may not qualify that. They may or may not allow that. They may or may not allow any extra benefits or pensions that you have. Let's say you're ex-military, you've got a pension from the military, and you've also got a job. They'll allow that because those things come in regular payments that you can get a stub for, like any investment income you would get T3, 4, whatever. They'll allow those things that are, you can verify where they come from and they're coming in consistently. When you get into commission income, it's a different story. Real estate agents, mortgage agents, people who are in a straight commission position, their income goes like this. So now what they're looking at is, we need to see sometimes 2 years of tax, or 6 months of tax, or bank statements. They always need a minimum of 2 years of tax returns showing how much you've made. Some lenders actually ask for 3. They ask for a T1 and proof that you're paid up to date with your taxes. So qualifying for income is a little, or for commission income is a little more difficult, but it can be done. There's something called stated income or business for self, where if you can sign a declaration saying this is how much I've made before, this is how much I make in my restaurant business, my car business, my cash-based business. But then they're also going to want to see your tax returns for the last 2 to 3 years to back up that you've actually been making money. Okay? So at that point, you start getting into higher interest rates because the banks are probably going to work with you. They'll probably work with you if you have a commission income, as long as it's stable and you can verify where it comes from. So the car dealership, the real estate brokerage, the company that you work for that pays your commission can give you an employment letter, can give you some sort of proof that you've paid, that you've made this much and you'll continue to be there. So those sorts of things you might be able to work with the bank with. Everything else, then you go over into, you have to go into the broker world. You really have to work with alternative lenders or mortgage brokers who have a variety of lenders, relationships with a variety of lenders that work with that. Okay? Not all brokerages have that. Not all brokerages have relationships with a lot of lenders. So then you get into, so any questions at this point? I've talked a lot about, yeah?
What's the typical lender fee?
1% to 3%. Depends.
Which one is 3% for?
The private lenders. The private lenders. Yeah, I've got, the private lenders are starting really at about 8 or 9%. Plus they want, and the more risky the property is, the higher the fees they want up front, right? So I've got New Haven. It's one of the alternative lenders that I work with. And their fees are huge. 2% up front, plus you pay all the legal fees, plus you pay administration fees, plus you pay fees along the way. Right? Plus they're charging you starting at 8 to 9% interest, and they'll only go for a year. So you have to pay that every year, that whole, all those fees you have to pay again every year. So you get into lenders like that when you get stuck in the creative world, and the banks and the alternative lenders find you a little bit more risky. You get into that world when, and they're equity lenders, they lend based on the property only. When you're in a corporation that is not a business that's generating income outside of real estate. Okay, so if you have a company, like I'm going to use the example of the gentleman that I'm working with right now. He's got 3 properties inside a corporation. That is the whole business. All the ins and outs from this corporation are from these 3 properties. Because it's not a holding company for just one property, I've got one lender that won't touch it. Because it's not a business outside of real estate, my other lender won't touch it. So now we're getting into equity lenders, which is a higher interest rate. If he was personally holding those properties, if they were in his own name, it would be easier for him to finance right now. Even if he had the corporation that was doing property management separately, which might not be a bad idea. Right? So he has his personal income backed up by the property management income, and now he's got enough income to qualify, and the lender feels safe. So there's things that you can do with that.
Is that because he's on the hook for it? Is that why?
No.
Why is it cheaper in his name versus in the corporation?
A lot of corporations have walked away from properties, so they're just afraid of it.
Less risk.
You told me it's
If you're a corporation, income bankruptcy, they can't come by and take your own.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning if we have a property that cash flow, that we may qualify without splitting any document.
So what happens, it depends on the lender. Okay, so what I do is I shop with different lenders with different situations. But I have one lender that will qualify rental properties up to 11 rental properties. So 1 personal residence and 10 rental properties. Now, if those rental properties each individually cash flow in their own right, in other words, they cover their mortgage payment, their property tax payment, utility payment, okay, and interest is all. So as long as they cover that with the rental income that's coming from it, they will not look at your personal income to qualify that property. The nice thing about this particular lender as well is they do an 85% rental offset. What that means is they're actually reducing the expenses of the rental property by 85%. So now that increases your ability to qualify for your debt servicing. So what happens when you debt service, when you get a lot of rental properties, is property taxes usually put you over the top. So now you have so much debt that the banks or the lenders won't touch you. So because of the stress test, because of how difficult it's been in the mortgage market, they only make money when they're lending money, so they try to make ways to lend money so that it makes sense. A big part of what I do is I listen to people's stories, and my lenders are wanting to know those stories. They insist on extensive notes with each application to make sure that they understand what the person's goal is, what they're doing for an exit strategy, if they need an exit strategy, what they're hoping to accomplish, where they want to go next with it, what their situation is. If there's something in there that's, bruised credit or too much debt or past bankruptcy, don't even look at that if there's a story about why that happened and what they're doing now and why it's different. So the mortgage industry is very different right now. They're getting very creative with income qualification. So I really recommend that you have more than one, I'll say, financial support person. Really great relationship with a bank. Have a phenomenal relationship with a bank. Have a phenomenal relationship with your accountant, somebody that can make sure that you're in the best possible position with your taxes being done, reducing the expenses that you have as much as possible. And have a broker, somebody who can help you with your strategy, somebody who can go out to other lenders, because the banks work for the banks. You need them. We all need to have money in the bank. We all need banking services. But brokers work for you to help you expand your strategy. So you should have relationships with all of them, and just make sure that you're clear on your strategy and you rely on professional resources, because we all know enough to be dangerous at some point, and I know in the past it's cost me a lot of money when I did that. Any questions?
How many properties are allowed per lender? Is it 4 to 5? And then you
Every lender is different. It's about their risk tolerance. And usually 2 to 4 doors. Right now I'm finding that minimum mortgage is gone from 100,000 to 200,000. And they're being very particular about having that stable income verified. They don't have to use the stress test. Credit unions don't have to, but they still do. Okay? They have a lot more flexibility in how they can qualify you because they want your business. And they love that right now. They're having a heyday because banks are cut off at a specific, regulated financial institutions are cut off at a specific requirement structure so that everybody else can get more business.
So you do deal with credit unions?
Mm-hmm. So I deal with banks, credit unions, private lenders, long line lenders, other alternative banks, lots of alternative banks, trust companies, mortgage investment corporations. Brokers can deal with all of those and help you find the best one for your particular situation. It's a lot of work. We do a lot of work advocating for our clients.
So you're also an investor? What's your story around investing?
What's my story? At one point I had 7 properties. They were between Niagara and Windsor. And so running around and paying people, property management companies and those sorts of things. So did really well with it. Ended up selling my Windsor properties except for one. Just sold my last property in Niagara. So now I've got the cash ready to go to my next step. At one point, I was also doing private lending. So we did private lending to individuals. Usually, they were self-employed individuals at a cab company. We loaned money on a strip mall that had 2 workers going in. So we loaned them money so they could build. So we did stuff like that.
What was the interest rate?
It was 7%. That was back in 2005, 2006. But the fees we charged them were huge. So, I mean, when you're looking at it from a lender perspective, the client who's borrowing the money becomes the risk. The property that you are buying is their risk. You're taking on your risk. So, you know, everything that you can do to mitigate the risk for the lender or to show them you're a stable investment, that you're reducing their risk any way possible, will get you a better rate, will get you faster approval, and will get you more support from them.
So like you said earlier, if you spin up a good story, a very detailed set of financials before and then projections for the future.
I mean, I spend a lot of time talking with people about what their goals are, what they have now, where they want to go with it. I take that and then we work together on a plan, and then that plan is what you go forward with. So having somebody that you're working with that's like that you can trust to do that with you, is really important. Especially if you're wanting to expand in real estate and rentals.
Do you do even commercial?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's different rules for commercial lending than there are for residential lending. And there's also different rules depending on what your credit rating is. There's different rules depending on where the property is located. Lenders will have a specific lending area. If you're outside of the GTA, it's a totally different ballgame than if you're in the GTA. If you're out in the country, and well and septic, really difficult to find somebody who's going to lend you money on that property.
We talk about cash flowing properties. That that's when you buy a property, you should, before you even buy the property, you should know it's going to cash flow, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really good to run the numbers first, to do your research, to make sure that you know what you're getting into, to make sure you've got a contingency. Saving up enough money to have a down payment, and don't stretch yourself right to the edge. You know, lenders know when people are stretched to the edge. And they'll say, yeah, you know, the credit rating is okay, but what happens if? We don't know. We'll add another interest point on there.
Oh.
Or, no, that's not within ours. We'll send it over to our B side. We'll add 2 more points to it, right? And 1% fee. So, you know, the better position you can put yourself in, the more money that you have, provable down payment, even equity in an existing property that you can prove is free and clear, so they'll do an appraisal on that, that you could pull that equity and put it into another property, and it's not money out of pocket. So you can work on those strategies too, but it needs to make sense to them. They need to see that it's going to be sustainable and that it's not going to disappear as soon as the water to someplace. Right?
So your fees is 1% apart from the lender's fees, correct?
Sometimes. So brokers don't always charge fees. So again, the better your credit rating is, if I'm dealing with A lenders, they pay me. Okay.
So then you don't charge.
Then I don't charge a broker fee. When you get into something that's more creative, then yeah. B lenders, C lenders don't pay me.
And
So
what's
then
your
I have to-
starting rate like?
Sorry?
And what's your starting percentage rate
1%.
like? 1%.
I just do 1% across the board.
So this is 1% of the property value?
Yeah.
Okay.
1% of the mortgage.
Of the mortgage?
1% of the mortgage. So if you've got 50% of the value to put down, I'm charging you 1% of whatever that mortgage
That's
value
all,
is.
there's no other fees other than that?
That's right. So there are other fees though, when you do a mortgage. You're gonna have to pay legal fees, appraisal fees. If you don't have 20% down, you'll have to pay insurance fees. If you do have 20%
No, but
down,
no other fees for you?
no other
Okay.
fees for me. No. No. Lenders will charge other fees. Okay? Other administration fees, especially when you get into the B and C side.
Okay.
Okay?
With the exception of RBC. Royal Bank doesn't pay.
Banks
Brokers,
just,
treat you guys very well. But Scotiabank does treat the mortgage brokers very well.
not all banks work with brokers.
And not all banks work with brokers.
Right. Yeah, not all banks work with brokers.
What did you say about RBC?
They don't pay the mortgage brokers.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
But at one point in time, they did advertise, you bring the mortgage, they give you 1,000.
Banks want your business because they want all the other things that you'll pay them for. But yeah, the broker channel is a totally different marketplace. That's why I say have a relationship with a bank, really good relationship with a bank, and then also have a relationship with a broker, with a mortgage broker.
So you don't get your credit pulled many times. You get your credit pulled once, shows up in the credit bureau, then the mortgage broker goes shops around to like over 23 different lenders and gets you the best option.